What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode with Amongst the Whiskey. I am your host, Nick, and today I'm joined by Jess Smyth, ace author of 2 hit novels, Time for Once and Dream for a Second. She is a contributing writer for AmongstTheWhiskey.com and the owner of Welliam Publishing. She self-admits to being better on paper than in person, but we are here to test that theory with a little live review of an Old Forester single barrel strength pick that I did with Mass Bourbon Alliance. Jess, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. I hope that was the correct introduction, and you are, in fact, the ace author that I think you are.
I think so. I think you got the right person.
Very good. We have been testing your writing skills for quite some time now for Amongst the Whiskey.
Yeah.
How are you liking your writing role, your contributing writing role?
I'm enjoying it very much. I think I have like 10 on the website now. So yeah,
10 reviews live? That's fantastic.
I think so. Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you for bringing me on as a contributing writer.
You know, I think with your skills, it's just taking the website to another level for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So this is kind of an Amongst the Whiskey first. I've done some solo video content thus far and podcast episodes with tasting notes, but I've never had a guest on. So this is a bit of a trial by fire. How you feeling being the first guest?
I'm totally nervous.
Hopefully a little liquid courage as we get sipping on what we're going to review today will help the scenario here.
As you said, I self-admit to being better on paper than in person. And video is a completely different beast. So yes.
It absolutely is, and I completely agree. I mean, this is a format that I don't typically prefer to share my thoughts on. I think I'm with you. I like to be on paper better than on camera myself.
Yeah, but it's good.
We're doing it for the people. We're doing it for the right reasons. People want to see videos. They don't have time to read, so here we are.
Yes.
Is that something you're exploring with some of your books, actually, too? Doing maybe an audiobook format?
I am, actually. I'm going to start looking into doing an audiobook I'll probably start with Dream for a Second, and then maybe, if that is successful, do my first book, Time for Once. But yes, that is in the brainstorming section of what I want to do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've read your books, but I would totally listen to them.
Would you?
Oh, yeah.
It has to be a good narrator, though.
Yeah, you should probably pick somebody with a good voice.
Yeah, I wonder who has a good voice.
I've not met anybody that is present here that would qualify. You should read it. You've got a great voice.
Oh my gosh, no. My Chicago accent would... no.
What do your Chicago accent has a couple of interesting tidbits to it. Your A's sound a little interesting at times.
Yeah, I'm sure that you will get well acquainted with those letters as we get through the tasting notes.
Well, hey, you're in luck. There are no A's in Old Forester.
That's true. Old Forester, thank you. No letters with that letter.
So this is the bottle that we will be reviewing today. It is an Old Forester single barrel strength pick. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a single barrel that I selected. I'm not in the business of rating my own single barrels, so I really appreciate your enthusiasm to be able to give it an honest review, because as the person that picked the barrel, I don't feel like I am capable of doing that.
Happy to help.
So this is from Warehouse K, floor 6. I believe Old Forester's warehouses are typically built with 8 floors on it. So this is pretty high up, but not as high as it can go, I guess. But I don't know if I've ever seen a Warehouse K floor 8 before. I don't know if those exist in the wild.
Yeah. I just saw floor 8. What was that warehouse, though? I forget.
Was it a Warehouse I or a Warehouse H, perhaps?
Yeah, H or I.
So this one is ringing in at a beastly 129.7 proof. You ready for that?
I am. Let's do it.
Excellent. So this was selected in conjunction with Liquor Junction in Massachusetts, the group that I help run in Massachusetts for single barrel selections. Bringing the best barrels to our friends here in Massachusetts is called Mass Bourbon Alliance, MBA for short.
Love it.
Which is the glass that I am going to be sipping out of. Let's pour this pick up, shall we?
Okay. You gave me a nice little sample.
Enough to experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And is this something that you are trying to get multiple experiences with, like we typically try to do for written reviews for amongstthewhiskey.com?
Yes, I'd like to get 3 tastings out of this jar, and because you pour over the 2 ounce line, you normally do. I usually get 3.5. I
That's
usually
a
get
good number
4.
of tastings. Yeah, that
Yeah,
helps.
yeah.
So this bottle actually has a little bit of lore behind it. I mean, I see this one swirling around on the internet pretty regularly. There are people, posting up "I want one" posts basically on
Mm-hmm.
on secondary pages pretty regularly. I have people sliding into my DMs going, "How do I get a bottle of Strawberry Crunch?" And I'm like, "I picked it like 2 years ago. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
even have another bottle. Like this is my last bottle that
Oh.
we're enjoying." So I think this is a cult classic. A lot of fans behind this pick, but we'll see what you think of it today.
All right. Smells good.
In general, how do you feel about Old Forester? Is it a brand that you typically enjoy?
I was early on in my journey. I obviously explored them. I wasn't too drawn to them. I have had several examples of single barrels, and I think that they drink very hot.
Totally agree.
So yeah, like fire water almost. I had a sample of one from one of my bottles, the other day, and it was very difficult. It was very hot.
Hard to
So
get through, right?
it was a little difficult to get through. So it's not something I seek out normally in
Yeah.
general.
I think I
Mhm.
have a similar experience. I have had quite a few Old Forester single barrel strengths. I've enjoyed some of the birthday bourbons as well. And I'd say more often than not, I think it drinks like what you said, firewater. I mean,
Mhm.
it's more often than not just too hot. It's
Mhm.
all spice and nothing nice really for
Yeah.
me.
I do have a single barrel of their 100 proof that I was really excited about actually because I was like, oh, maybe this will be the good middle ground. It won't be like those really high proof single barrels. I was disappointed by that one too. It had a very distinct like aluminum can quality to it.
Oh,
And
metallic.
yeah, and the mouthfeel wasn't, it was very watery and yeah, I was kind of let down by that one too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But have you had some good examples prior as well?
No, that was the only example I've ever had of that.
Yeah.
So,
You've had some other single barrel strengths that you've
mhm.
liked though. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So in general, it's just kind of maybe to summarize, a hit or miss
Hit or
brand for
miss.
you.
Yes, I would. Yep.
Not everything is an instant classic.
No, but it's
Well, we'll
this.
see. We'll see. We'll see if this one will earn your respect and adoration.
Well, I've already experienced a few sips, but this nose is just so wonderful. I could spend hours on this nose, and for 129 point
Point seven.
something, point seven, doesn't smell, doesn't, mm-mm. It
Yeah.
is
Your nose is
creamy,
below that proof.
what, way below the proof. Creamy, a little effervescent on the nose too, a little poppy.
Do you like that characteristic when it's
Oh
poppy
yeah,
effervescent?
yeah, yeah. I like that distinction. Um, and it's fruit forward,
Sure.
obviously. It smells really nice.
Why do you say obviously? Was the giant tater sticker a bit of a tell?
Just a little bit, just
Are
a
you
tiny
finding
bit.
are you finding fruit forward notes just because of maybe something that's suggesting you should?
Yeah, no, it's definitely fruity. And when I first experienced this, I was actually hit with a lot of oak. I think that's kind of chilled out a little bit now on the third
Okay,
tasting. Yeah,
sure. Do you think your sample is oxidizing, or is that just kind of your palate, your nose changing day to day?
probably the latter.
What kind of fruit are we finding? A
It,
general fruitiness? Which fruit might you describe this release as having?
could it be strawberry?
Strawberry would be a pretty good spot to lead with. Yeah. So we called this. I don't know if I even named this earlier, but the sticker is Crunch. It is Strawberry Crunch is the
Yeah,
single barrel name.
yeah.
I love naming single barrels when I find one that really speaks to me and has a distinct character. It just connects you with the people that are going to sip it in a way that I hope is not too leading. I think it's a note that everybody should find. It's one of those notes
Yeah.
that I find every time that I experience it, every time I
Yeah.
go for a glass of this single barrel. And so with that level of consistency, I'm kind of expecting others to find it too. But you
Yeah.
could tell me it's not there. You could tell me it leads like a spicy grape or something completely
Spicy
different.
grape. There's no spicy grape in the nose. No, it's
Okay,
definitely strawberry.
very good.
Yeah.
Is it simplistic in that regard? Is it kind of a one note wonder?
Um, there's an earthiness to it too. So I would say more like strawberry, not to be all Beatles, but more like strawberry fields.
Strawberry fields. Yes, very Beatles of you.
Thank you. Um,
That's a
so
wonderful parallel to draw, though. I mean, there's beauty in drawing parallels between memories, and memories are sometimes songs and
mm-hmm.
eras that whiskey can inspire and remind you
Yes. And if nobody has that song in their head, shame on you.
of. It will be stuck in all of the listeners' heads from here on out.
Currently stuck in my head. It's really nice though.
We're gonna have to get a rendition by the end of this glass.
No, maybe. Depends. Probably not.
See how we feel in an hour.
But it's got like I know this is a word that a lot of people don't like, but it's got like a soft oak, like almost like a moist oakiness to it when you really
Moist.
when you really get your nose in there. And
Sure.
man, I can't it's just not hot on the nose. Like it's
Damp.
still you can
Wet.
tell damp and wet, but like you can tell it's proofy, but it's not like the other single barrels I've had. So
It doesn't come in with like a haymaker.
no.
Yeah. I've certainly had, I mean, I've had Old Forester barrel strengths that I've taken one sip of, spit out the sip and dump the glass. Like
Yeah.
I'm just not in the mood to drink liquid magma.
Yeah. This is not it at all. This is
Good.
very nice. Very nice.
Good. All right. So we've got a general appreciation for the nose. Shall we take a sip?
Yes.
Let's. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. We got a dance out of her. A little shimmy.
It's so creamy. It's
Ooh,
just so creamy.
matches the nose in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So creamy. It's poppy, effervescent. You get the vanilla, you get that strawberry. Oh, and just like the heat that it hits in the back of your throat, it's not off-putting at all. It's really like one big hug.
Oh,
It's really nice.
that's great. So it sounds like actually the nose and palate kind of followed each other. I love when that
Yeah,
happens.
they match. Yeah, they definitely match. Yeah, because you
Is that a-
still go ahead.
Is that a pet peeve of yours when they don't, when they're like out of sync with each other?
Oh my God, 100%. You know what's really cool is because a lot of times I find that the nose for me is generally more enjoyable than the palate for whatever reason. But when the nose is less enjoyable than the palate, like when the palate shines, those are the pours that really like stick in my brain. I'm writing like a ton of notes on them. Memories are coming from all over the place. Like those are the pours that I like. But in general, I would prefer to have the nose match the palate. I would like that symmetry. I think everybody would like that symmetry.
Right. It you almost know you're going into it knowing what you're about to experience in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm with you. Those surprises can really be
Surprises.
magical.
And then sometimes after you've tasted it, you go back to the nose, it actually can improve the nose a little bit because you've had the experience of the palate that was a little bit more favorable to you than the nose. So, but if it doesn't smell good, it's really hard for the palate to pull through.
It's very hard, yeah.
Yeah.
If there's off-putting notes in the nose, yeah, it can be
Yeah.
hard to look past that.
So this
But I'd say
is,
like a big proportion of people actually probably don't even take the time to nose. I'd say
yeah.
a majority of whiskey drinkers, not whiskey enthusiasts. I think whiskey enthusiasts like to nose their glasses. But I
Yeah.
think a pretty big proportion of people don't ever stick they're drinking out of a rocks glass. They're not
Yeah.
sticking their nose like
Yeah.
we do for hours trying
Yeah.
to figure out what is that?
Oh, but it's so fun.
It is so fun. It really is one of my favorite things about enjoying whiskey. Is
Yeah.
the experience of spending time nosing. A long
Yeah.
time nosing, too.
A long time. What's the longest you've ever spent nosing a whiskey? Do you know?
Easily 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
One glass, 3-4 hours, no
Yeah.
problem.
And the whiskey held up in the Glen?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
certain whiskeys will. How about you? 12 hours? Marathon?
I wouldn't say three or four. Maybe two.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
reasonable. I'd
Yeah.
say the 3 or 4 was like a one-time outlier, but
Right.
more often than not, I'm actually for a review, I'm probably between an hour and 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. But if it's a really good nose.
If it's not an inspiring nose, it might be 10 minutes. Yeah, it might be like, okay, 1, 2, 3 notes. That's all I found. Sorry, see ya. And those are the threes and below on the rating
Hmm.
scale.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. This smells wonderful after a sip, though.
Ooh, post sip. Yeah, what are
Yeah.
we getting post sip nose?
I get it's more corn forward for me. So I know that like you mentioned strawberry crunch because it reminds you of cereal. So it's like um my mom when I was growing up, she loved to slice strawberries on top of her Special K or yeah, Special K. She did eat Special K. So but
That's fantastic.
it's more like cornflakes for me with sliced strawberries on top and then you got to sprinkle on some sugar with some
Of
milk.
course.
Yeah.
With the milk tones. Yeah,
Yeah, with the milk
absolutely.
tones. But it's more obvious to me after sipping it. It was kind of hidden before, so
Yep.
that came out more after I sipped it for sure.
I love that note. And you absolutely nailed why I called it Strawberry Crunch
Yeah.
with two parallels. Warehouse K being the crunch factor and
Ah,
Special K being the cereal that I thought it reminded me of.
yeah,
So that's incredible that you drew that
yeah,
parallel.
yeah,
But with the strawberries, right? Strawberry, Special K, maybe some chunks of chocolate in there.
yeah.
And
It is chocolatey.
the sprinkle of sugar for sure. This is
Yeah,
on the sweeter end for most whiskeys.
I can't believe it's 129. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep going. I can't.
That is because I think with our historical experiences of them typically drinking hotter, even hotter than the stated proofs, right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
I've had ones that 130 felt
Like
too low.
hazmat.
Like it felt
Oh,
like 150. Yeah, it felt well north of hazmat. So
ooh,
yeah, for it to drink under is not the norm, I think, for Old
no,
Forester.
no.
It does inspire. It inspires me to keep exploring the brand, right? Where I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, they're capable of such greatness, but with how many picks are so hit or miss, if it's not a barrel selector or a
hmm,
store that I really respect and trust, I'm just not going to buy the single barrel strengths.
no.
Even at, you could price them at $40 and I think I'd still leave them on the shelf because
Yeah,
it's just too much of a risk if I haven't been able to taste it. I've
hmm,
been burned too many times, right? And
hmm.
I think my success rate is maybe 1 out of 3.
Yeah,
Is probably my success rate for single barrel strengths that I liked.
yeah.
I
But
like that
yeah,
you brought up the 100 proof example from earlier, though,
yeah.
because those I had a much better success rate. I think I
Did
was
you?
like 3 for 4 on 100 proof single barrels that I liked
Yeah.
from Old Forester back in the day.
You don't see those that much anymore.
No, they did away with them, I think, for the
Did
most
they?
part. I
Yeah.
think you can request them now, though. If you
Oh,
do a pick with them, I think you can say, hey, let's bottle it at 100. I
cool.
think I'm starting to see people go back to it now.
I think I'm sure that there are very good examples of 100 for single barrels.
Yeah.
I don't have that available to me.
Yep. So you've had a good array of single barrel examples. Have you had like kind of each of the different warehouses? Have you had an I, an H, a K, an L?
I've had an I and an H and now a K. So those are
All
the ones
right.
that I've had. Oh, I can't remember the other one I've had though. That was a couple of years ago. I don't remember what that. I'd have to scroll back through all my photos.
If I scrolled back through mine, I would find the pulling the strawberry crunch out of the cabinet like it was a bowl of or a
Mm,
box of cereal and pouring it into a cereal bowl.
yeah, that's one of your reels.
But always trying to do something
You
ridiculous.
should.
But when I'm not in the capacity to go and do a review of it, I start to have fun with things. So that's a
Yeah,
good. That's
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 what you
kind of a
gotta
good
do.
example of. All right, it's not going to be a review because it's a single barrel that I picked, but I
Hmm.
want people to know I picked it. So like, here's
Hmm.
some information about it,
Yeah,
and yeah, just have some fun with it along the way.
as you should.
Um,
It's whiskey.
But I think the warehouses are different across Old Forester. I think, kind of Warehouse K is pretty revered by enthusiasts. And I want to say even Jackie Zykan was on record
Mm,
saying that that was one of her favorite warehouses.
yeah,
So when it's Jackie saying it's her favorite warehouse, it's a good
an
indication that you're
indicator.
probably in the right area.
Yeah.
There are some interesting tidbits about the other ones. I've had an eye that was like okay, but I think it was like a low floor thing.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
because it was low in proof, it didn't do that drinking like liquid magma.
Yeah.
The other one that I think is really interesting is Warehouse H. So
Mm.
Warehouse H is a specific design that's heat cycled,
Mm.
and in that design, sometimes the first floor is actually the hottest floor in the warehouse.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that
So
would make sense. Yeah.
kind of atypical of your
Hmm.
standard Kentucky aging.
Yeah.
The warehouses are almost aging upside down.
I just had an H.
How'd you
Floor
like it?
two. Floor two. I liked it. It did drink hotter than this, and it was 100 and I have my notes here. And it was 125, and it drank hotter than this. But compared to another recent example I had, it was something that I was able to sit with until it was gone, versus the other one, which I couldn't finish. It was more cinnamon forward, so less fruit, but there was still some of the little fruity undertones, but more of like the oak spice, the cinnamon, more desserty, pastry, chocolatey tones going on.
Sure.
Yeah, not as creamy.
It's good to have those reference points when you're
Hmm.
going into a review, right? It's almost impossible to be a whiskey writer or a whiskey reviewer without having you kind of got to build your base of experience before you
Hmm.
really know how to evaluate certain distilleries too. But I think
Hmm.
there's also characteristics that you look for, right? There's like mouthfeel, or there's approachability is important
Hmm.
for some people.
Hmm.
For you, what's kind of your go-to? What's most important to you in a glass of whiskey?
I like the mouthfeel. Um, I really love pot still whiskey.
Mm, which typically will give you a robust
A
mouthfeel.
creamy, yeah, creamy. And I do like when the palate and nose match, and I tend to gravitate towards more. I do like fruity stuff, but it can't be too citrusy for me.
Sure.
So I can do like the strawberries, the raspberries, the plums, the stone fruits, and then I really like the vanillas and the caramels, the chocolates,
Your
like the
wood
sweet
influence
breads.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the sweet breads, and yeah, I like that type of stuff. And I really love ryes. I mean,
Rye.
don't
Yeah.
get me started on ryes. You could get me started. I love ryes, and
That's the flavor grain, right? That's
I
the thing
love
that's
it.
producing a good amount of your nuanced flavor in a mash bill. I think
It's so
over very consistent corn, right? Everyone's using
yeah,
the same dent number two
yeah,
corn, but
yeah.
rye is kind of that big X factor where you can build a brand around your varietal of rye and your
Hmm.
percentage of rye that you use in your mash bill.
Just like Kings County, that was my first review on Amongst the Whiskey, their Empire Rye, and it is. Well, you'd have to read the review, but
Required reading. We don't hand out
you
little
have
tidbits
to.
that require a full reading experience. We don't just hand those out.
But yeah, I like the creamy mouthfeel, and I like a sip that takes me through a journey. Those one note sips are fine if I just want to sit and not really think about, I just want to relax and lean back and listen to some music or whatever. But I really like the sips that take you through a journey of flavors and smells and memories. And um, yeah, I like that stuff.
It's all about the journey. I love
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Well, excellent. All right, back to the pour at hand. How are you feeling about our Old Forester single barrel strength strawberry crunch pick?
I took another sip, and that's when a little bit more of the heat came through for me. And there's just a tiny bit of oak tannin dryness now in the back of the throat, but it's still, it's holding. It's still got the fruit and the lovely, sugary loveliness. Words,
Yeah.
words. Hmm.
How would you compare it against some of those other good examples that you've had recently?
Um, this is up there. Are you asking me for a rating?
No?
Not
It's
yet?
an opportunity to compare and contrast against some of your previous examples.
It's better than all the previous examples that I've had.
A top-notch
Yes.
single barrel then.
Yes.
Oh,
For Old
okay.
Forester, yes. Definitely for Old Forester.
Those Mass Bourbon Alliance boys know what they're doing, I guess.
I think you guys do. Yeah, I think you do.
Excellent. Maybe we could get you involved on one of our next picks. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah. When? Where? Go. Let's.
Don't jump too fast. Wow.
Sure. I'll check my schedule.
Very good. I will
Thank
see
you.
if it's something we can pencil in with my assistant.
Okay.
I've obviously had a long history with this barrel. I mean, I think this is probably my second or third bottle, and my last, unfortunately. So it's time to
Yeah.
start savoring it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've obviously enjoyed it in that regard. I'm not going to wager my own rating, but it's it's probably the saving grace for Old Forester for me, right? It's the thing I keep going back to outside of maybe birthday bourbon, which can be actually kind of disappointing too at times. But
Mm,
this is kind of the saving grace for Old Forester, which tells me, hey, this is a distillery that's capable of making great whiskey. This is kind of the example I want them to shoot for.
yeah.
Moving forward, please just like keep making this whiskey and this whiskey only, and I will be so happy to keep buying it. But in general, I think I'm with you. It's a very hit or miss kind of experience. I want them to be a little more consistent. I want them to
Hmm.
taste a little bit older for me.
Hmm.
I find a lot of them are drinking too young, too hot, too inconsistent.
Yeah.
And that's really where I see, if the brand can get those things under control, I see them being a powerhouse brand
Yeah.
for a long time to come.
Yeah.
I know they're good blenders too, though. That's the thing, because I see the releases like 1920 and the popularity that has in the
Yeah.
whiskey community, even in my house. Like, it's a delicious pour. So I think it's a wonderful brand. I think this is a wonderful pour. I'm glad we
It
could
is.
share it together.
Thank you for sharing it with me.
And I would love to hear what you might rate it.
Okay. Now you want the rating. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there on the scale. It's
Yeah.
not a top tier pour. If you said 5, I would have called you a bold faced liar. I'd have said you're trying to toot my horn because you're the first guest on Amongst the Whiskey's YouTube channel, and I would have said, nope, you're being false to me. You're hereby kicked off, and you're never coming back on the show ever again.
Damn, I should have said 5.
But that is but that is not the case. You did wonderfully. I think you were very honest in your rating, and I would agree wholeheartedly with it.
Mm.
So 4 on the Amongst the Whiskey rating scale is like the really good, I want this on my shelf. So
Yeah.
you're telling me this is a bottle you want on your shelf.
Yes.
Good. Good
I'll
call.
take one. I'll take one.
Here it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the last of it. So
I know, you keep saying that. I'm savoring it.
I'm going to.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Don't break it.
Kind of like the experience you said, where it's like a hug. That's really what I want to give to this.
It's
That's
a
what I want to
hug.
give to this bottle.
It is a hug.
Yeah, no promises on not breaking it. Whoa!
Oh,
I got it.
oh my God.
All the best shenanigans amongst the whiskey here. Jess, that's a wonderful background you have there. Are you in kind of a little lighted tropical rainforest?
I am.
Wow. Coming to us live from the jungles of Illinois.
I am surrounded by bottles. You just can't see them at the moment. They're all over there.
Hopefully not like ominously towering over you, like ready to fall on you.
No, oh my God. No, I like this. My little lights.
It's a wonderful setup. I think with your level of honesty that you've given today in this review, the depth of notes that you had for the experience of this pour, and just your general whiskey knowledge of the whole wide whiskey world, and the fact that you knew some other examples of Old Forester, exactly why I enjoy talking whiskey with you all the time.
It's fun. Yes, all the time.
So, hey, thank you for hopping on. Any latest and greatest news in the world of Jess Smith that you want to share?
No.
No news. 10 out of 10 no notes coming from Jess Smith here today.
Um, I have a new passion project called Poetry that I'm curating. It's a collective of anyone really that wants to submit poetry or short form fiction. And it'll be anthology, so there'll be different editions. So I'm hoping to publish the first edition soon, and it is called Sipping Through Growth. So anyone that wants to submit their words, it's just poetry that focuses on like personal growth and transformation, and you kind of link it to whiskey and whiskey metaphors and all that. So I'm on Instagram as Poetry Official, and it's pour and then ETRY Poetry. And I have a website
Poetry.
for anyone that's interested in looking into it further. There's been some really excited interest in it. I know the hesitation that comes with submitting your own work, being a self-published author myself. So I'm hoping that with continued encouragement, people will get more confidence in wanting to submit their work. Because I know sneaking behind all of this whiskey stuff, there are some really, really talented writers.
Most definitely.
I think I'm talking to one right now.
It's certainly a project that is resonant with me, and I
Mm-hmm.
certainly want to see some interesting poems, whiskey inspired and
Mm-hmm.
infused interesting poems
Mm-hmm.
turned into a wonderful book that people can read through.
It'll
And
be a book.
I love the concept of sipping through growth too. I
Yeah.
think it's something that to some may be counterintuitive, where
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, alcohol is kind of this thing that is often looked at as a dependency substance
Mm-hmm.
versus something that can really inspire personal growth and
Mm-hmm.
you learning about yourself and
Mm-hmm.
being a wonderful functioning human in the world. I think
Yeah,
whiskey is capable of doing that too. So I
I
think that's
do.
a wonderful thing to highlight.
Yeah. And there'll be other editions too.
Awesome. Great
I'm excited.
project. Well, hey, Jess, thank you so much for coming on for today's episode. Really
Thank you
nice
for
sipping
having
through
me.
things with you.
Yeah, it's
And I
fun.
look forward to maybe the next one.
Yes. Sounds good.
All right. I will see you then. And
Okay.
thank you all for watching. Cheers.